Hello, so welcome to another episode of Quarantine with Craig. This is day 15. I am trying a new camera, which is this one all the way up here. Movie recording starts with the movie button. How does this thing work? Notion is stupidly powerful. It's really, really powerful. And the kind of stuff you can do with it, I think, provides use for anybody in the entire world. In my first video I did about Notion, I didn't really cover how exactly I use it. Today I'm going to do that, so watch this video right now. So let's get straight into looking at Notion a little bit. I'm going to start the same place I did last time, which is my Quarantine with Craig starting list. So on this Quarantine with Craig list is all the episodes that I'm planning on recording and doing for Quarantine with Craig. I talk about design and marketing and social media and productivity and stuff like that. So there's lots of different kinds of topics that I cover, which means that this is a dumping ground for my ideas primarily. So the way that I've set this Notion board up is pretty simple. It's just a basic database that's in Notion. I've added a couple of extra fields. So I've added the requested by field that you can see there. I've added the status field as well, which is a bit different. And I've also added the tags so I know what I'm talking about and I can keep them to topics. So when you're looking at kind of setting up a system with Notion, this is a really basic starting system that I've set up. The power of Notion, I think, is that you can set up a table like this and get going with it straight away and not really need to do much else. You can just set this up and then use it as you would. It's not too complicated to get started with it. So when I make a new thing, which I can do just down at the bottom here, just new, give it a title, pick one of my preset options, or I can make more options if I wanted to. I'd say it's Figma. I can attach files if I wanted to, and then change the status and other stuff like that. So at the minute I only have two statuses. I have a today status and a published status because it's all I really need for this because it's pretty straightforward. And then I like to put who requested it too, so I know who did it, who requested it, and I can put a shout out to them in the video. And there's not really much else to this kind of system that I've got going on here for this. So this is quite a straightforward example of what I might use Notion for. And then going into a more complicated example, I'm going to show you how I've recently set up a marketing plan for Genius Division. So this marketing plan at first just started as a kind of a one-page thing as this. And it was a way for me to get down what platforms that we're planning on using, what our website was going to look like, the kind of things that we were going to do, and the activities that we had in mind. So I started with just a one-page document in Notion like this that's got nothing really much in it. And then I started putting down key marketing activities. And then I created this. I created another database in Notion. So again, the power of Notion is that you can just make databases dead easy. It's really straightforward to do. And I made this kind of schedule one. So with this schedule one, the main reason I did it is so I can think, right, I want this week's blog topic, so the week 27th of April, I want this week's blog topic to be, I don't know, all about productivity or something like that. And I can just put that in and other people can see it and I can see it and we can start planning around it. Then further to that, I'm going to be able to start planning my tweets. So I can say, hey, this will be a tweet. I can say what media it's going to, what platform it's going to go on, which should be Twitter in this case. And it's going to give me a full list of all the marketing stuff that we're doing for Genius Division. And it's going to be dead useful for me to set all that up. Notion, whenever you can think of any kind of system that you need to set up for anything, Notion is super powerful for doing this kind of thing because you set it up like this and you can set which fields that you want to set up inside it too, and you can also then display that information in different ways throughout your document. So to show you how that's working, if I go back another one here, you can see I've started to split it out. So we've got April here. And this is, at the minute, only showing the April activities. So it's got a filter on here, and I'm going to change this filter to something different. The other power of Figma, by the way, is that Figma. Why do I keep saying Figma? The other power of Notion is that you can set these filters on, which show different views of a database, which is really useful too. So I'm going to set this to only show the platform Twitter. So now I could make a breakdown of that previous thing that we've just seen, only show the tweets in this breakdown, but still have the full document on the other page, which I'm sure you can appreciate. There's a ton of different ways you could use that and a ton of different value you could provide with it. So this is kind of a more full example of how I'm using Notion for productivity. The other thing that I really want to show you with it too is I'm going to show you my blogging. So I showed this last time. It was my writing list. In my writing list in Notion, what I've chosen to do is set it up in kind of a Trello board kind of look, so I can drag things across like this when I know that I'm working on them. For content stuff, other than setting a schedule, I find this kind of layout really useful because it lets me visualize the things that I'm working on. It lets me think about what I'm going to do next. It lets me work out everything that I'm going to do in a visual fashion. I mean, there's other layouts you can make too. The beauty of Notion is that you can just click this drop down, add a view, and then make any kind of layout you can kind of think of. So there's lots of power with that, being able to make different layouts. As you can see, I've got a table layout already set up in here too. And then I've also got a list view set up in here as well. But the one I use the most is the progress one, because I think it's the most useful for content-based stuff. And then when I click into one of them, I can see what I've written, although that's a bad example. So I can see what I've written inside this one. I've got half an article already written. I spoke about this in my last Notion video. The idea I've got this full article written that I've just not bothered publishing. And then the other kind of thing that I want to show, just so you can kind of get a full picture of how Notion might work, is a dashboard that I've got set up. So I've got this dashboard set up for Genius Division. Everything I do in Genius Division is inside this. So it's showing, as you can see here, it's showing my task lists that I've got set up and my support list. It's got all my meeting notes, so they're all listed inside there. I'm using a database inside there too, so every meeting I have goes into Notion, so I don't lose any of it. And then we've got snippets. So snippets is actually really cool too. So my snippets are my dev snippets basically, or useful workarounds or things that I've found that I don't want to forget. So in here, this is kind of my developer snippet to scrape an entire website. Don't tell anybody about this one. And then I've got other ones in here about how to do search and replace inside WordPress. So I've got a snippets library in there too that's all kind of on this database inside Notion, which is on a dashboard inside Notion, which is just a really useful way of pulling it together. I know Mika Carroll did a video on his dashboard in Notion, which is much more advanced than mine and much cooler. But this is kind of an example of how far you can take Notion in its flexibility and what you could do with it. I've also set this image as well, just because I thought the image was really cool, so I put it at the top. And I think I'm just going to finish off by just showing you my podcast. So my podcast is under Get Doing Things, and that's here. And my podcast, again, as I mentioned last time, I use the kind of Trello-y cards layout again for any kind of content activity because I find it useful. I've set there, you can see my next episode is going to be 146, and that's kind of a full picture of how I use Notion. I've covered, in this second video, I've covered pretty much all of the same stuff as I did in my last Notion. I picked out all the same bits. But I've kind of explained to you in this one a little bit more about how I use it and why I use it. I've used a lot of productivity apps over time. I've used pretty much any kind of one that you can think of. And Notion is the only one that I've come across that I've stuck with, that I really like using, and I cannot see me going away from this. I tried Roam Research for a little bit, and I didn't stick to it, to be honest, because I didn't like all the features. But Notion, seriously, go check it out, give it a try. It's super powerful. Seriously, it's super powerful. So if you didn't catch my name at the beginning, I'm Craig Burgess. You can find me on Twitter at Craig Burgess, or you can find more about me at getdoingthings.com. I'm making these videos right here most days. I didn't make one yesterday. I had a bit of a rest. And yeah, they're called Quarantine with Craig. Come back tomorrow and I'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching. See you later.